والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولا شبيه ولا مثيل له ولا ضد ولا ند ولا جسد ولا صورة ولا أعضاء له. كان الله ولا مكان، فهو الآن على ما عليه كان. فلا تضربوا لله الأمثال ولله المثل الأعلى. تنزه ربي عن الجلوس والقعود وعن الحركة والسكون وعن الاتصال والانفصال. لا يحل فيه شيء ولا ينحل منه شيء ولا يحل هو في شيء، لأنه ليس كمثله شيء. مهما تصورت لذلك فالله لا يشبه ذلك. ومن وصف الله بمعنى من معاني البشر فقد كفر. وأشهد أن سيدنا وعظيمنا وقائدنا وقرة أعيننا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله ونبيه وصفيه وحبيبه وخليله، أرسله الله هدى ورحمة للعالمين، هاديا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه سراجا وهاجا وقمرا منيرا. اللهم صل وسلم وأعظم وأنعم وأكرم على هذا النبي الكريم سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين. كلما ذكره الذاكرون وغفل عن ذكره الغافلون. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا عظيم الجاه. I praise Allah, I glorify Him and I thank Him for all the blessings that He gives without Him being obligated. And I ask Allah to raise the rank of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and to protect his Muslim nation. I testify that no one deserves to be worshipped except Allah, the one without a partner, the one without an equal, the one without a similar, the one who is unlike anything in the universe and nothing in the universe is like Him. He has no father, no mother, no sister, no brother, no son, and no daughter. He exists without time and place because He is the creator of time and place. He does not reside above the throne, and He is not attributed with fatigue, like the Jews say. Our Lord is glorified beyond any imperfection that the non-Muslims attribute to Him. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah Ta'ala does not resemble that. And whoever attributes an attribute of the creations to Allah is outside of Islam. And I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, the son of Hashim, the son of Abdul Manaf, from the tribe of Quraysh, is the best creation of Allah and His final prophet and messenger, sent to all humans and jinn, and He is truthful about everything that He conveyed of the revelation. Thereafter, we remind ourselves to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah in attending the session of Islamic knowledge, because having the sincere intention is a requirement to get the reward. So the Muslim, whenever he does a good deed, he has to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah to get reward for that good deed. The reward is defined as the compensation that the Muslim receives in the hereafter for the good deed that he did in this life among what makes him happy. An example of the reward that is guaranteed to the righteous Muslim in the grave is that his grave is expanded approximately 105 feet by 105 feet, and his grave is illuminated with a light similar to the light of the full moon, and the fragrance of paradise will be present in the grave. The sincere intention means for the Muslim to do the good deed seeking the acceptance of Allah only and not the praise of the people. So alhamdulillah, we are grateful to Allah that we have been guided to al-Islam, because Islam is the greatest endowment that the human can receive, because it is through al-Islam that the human being saves himself from dwelling forever in hellfire. Because being Muslim, that is having a correct belief in God and His Messenger, it is the biggest obligation. So what does that mean, the biggest obligation? It means the most important, and it means the number one top priority obligation. So being a Muslim is the best good thing. It's the best good deed. And it is the biggest obligation. So it's bigger than doing the prayer. It's bigger than fasting Ramadan. It's bigger than paying zakah. It's bigger than giving charity. It's bigger than helping the homeless. It's bigger than helping those who are starving, etc. Being Muslim is bigger than all those other good deeds. And the worst deed, or the biggest sin, is blasphemy, meaning to not be a Muslim. Meaning to worship something other than the Creator. So we are grateful to Allah that He has guided us to al-Islam. We are grateful to the Creator. We thank God that He has guided us to al-Islam, and that He has made our hearts happy with al-Islam. That He has made our hearts pleased with al-Islam. Because this is an endowment that not everyone is blessed with. And we are grateful and thankful to Allah that we have been blessed with having access to the authentic and confirmed knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah, which is the saved group. As the Prophet ﷺ explained, that those who identify as Muslims, they will split up into 73 groups, and all of them would be in hellfire except for one. When he was asked who that one is, he said, "Man kana ala ma ana alayhi wa ashabi," which means whoever has my creed and the creed of the companions. And in another narration he said the vast majority, and in another narration he said the congregation. So these narrations put together, they let us know that always throughout history, whether you take a snapshot of the present or you gauge based on the Muslims from the time of the Prophet ﷺ until our times, whether you do the tally from the time of the Prophet ﷺ until now, or you just take a snapshot of today, the majority of the people who claim to be Muslim will have the creed of the Prophet ﷺ, and the creed of the companions. Even though the Muslims, they fall short in doing the acts of worship, even though, for example, the majority of Muslims are not pious, even though, for example, a lot of Muslims don't pray, even though, for example, a lot of Muslims, they fornicate, even though a lot of Muslims, they drink alcohol, even though a lot of Muslims, they kill unjustly. But still, the majority of them, they have the creed of the Prophet ﷺ and the companions. So for example, an example of that, if you were to take a poll and ask those who identify as Muslims, if you ask them, who is the first rightly guided caliph, the majority of them would say Abu Bakr. And only a fringe minority would say Ali. So we know who's misguided. So we know who is one of those 72 misguided sects or misguided groups that the Prophet ﷺ told us about. That's just one example. So we are grateful and thankful to Allah that we have been guided to have access to the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah, because they are the same group, and because also the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah is the key to paradise, and the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnah is the life of Al-Islam. So we're going to continue on with our series, reading from this book called Collection of Goodness, Volume 1. There's 3 volumes. And basically these are lessons that were documented and written by the students of a great scholar. His name is Shaykh Abdullah, the son of Muhammad al-Harari. So he was a pious, righteous Muslim, and he was a high-ranking, elite scholar of Ahlul Sunnah. And he was born in the year 1905 of the Common Era, and he died in the year 2008. So he lived a long time. And so this scholar, he had students that followed him and that listened to all his lessons and that wrote everything down that he said. So this is a compilation of those classes that were given by that scholar. Of course, they were given in Arabic, but then those classes, and that book was published in Arabic, and then that book was translated to English, alhamdulillah. So we got to lesson 13. And if you have the book, you're following along, we're on page 66. The author, rahimahullah, he said, the wudu, the ablution that complies with the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and warning against going along with the whisperings in it and in the prayers. So this particular class, it is about the wudu, which is a ritual act of purification that the Muslim does when he wants to engage into the prayer, and when he wants to do certain acts, he has to be on this state of purity. It's called wudu. The way that you do it, or the act of that purification, is called wudu. So here in this lesson, the Shaykh, rahimahullah, he is going to be talking about how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made wudu. And how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he did this purification so that we can imitate him in it. And also he's going to be warning against those that have whispers of the devil when they're making wudu. And the whispers of the devil is a technical term, and it can be referring to an obsessive compulsive type of action. So basically the person, let's say, that's suffering from it, he'll wash his face and then he'll think, I didn't get all the parts that I need, so he'll wash it again. Then he'll think, I didn't get all the parts that I need, so he'll wash it again. Then he'll think, I didn't have the intention, so he'll wash it again. Then he'll think, I missed the spot, so he'll wash it again. That's from the devil, because the devil wants to disturb the Muslim, because the devil is the sworn enemy of the human. And so the devil, the mission of the devil, ever since they were in, ever since the devil had an interaction with Adam and Eve, and they were in paradise. When Adam and Eve were in paradise, and before the devil was expelled, after Prophet Adam alayhi salam, when he came to life and his soul entered his body, the devil, he blasphemed because he objected to God's order. So basically God had ordered the angels that were around the body of Prophet Adam alayhi salam, he ordered them to make prostration to Prophet Adam when he came to life. The devil, he happened to be and addressed with the same command, although he was not an angel, as the Christians falsely believe. They think that the devil was an angel, they think that he was the head of the angels, they think that he was the best angel. All that is blasphemy. And all that stuff that the weirdos that they say about the Nephilim, and supposedly they say the fallen angels, and supposedly they say the angels that had intercourse with human women, and so they spawned like this other type of race. All of that is a lie. It's a wacky kooky. It's a lie. These people, they talk like with certainty as if they were there, but they have no proof. But anyway, the point is that the devil is of the species called the jinn. And so he's the father of the jinn. And so this is what people call spirits and ghosts and poltergeists and stuff like that. The shapeshifters, the skinwalkers. Those are the jinn. Because the jinn, they can shapeshift. They're beings of, they are impalpable. Their bodies are impalpable. They're not dense bodies. They're like the air. They're like smoke. They're like light. So they don't have like graspable bodies like us. You can grasp onto us, or a stone, or a tree, etc. But the jinn are not like that. The jinn are like air, like smoke. So when the order was given, because the devil, the father of the jinn, Iblis, the devil, he was created from fire, and he knew that Adam was created from soil. So when he was ordered to prostrate to Adam, he objected to God's order because he felt that God was a fool for ordering him to prostrate to Adam, because Adam was made out of clay and he was made out of fire. So he thought he was inherently superior just because of his physical nature. And that's obviously, the root of racism, etc. And it stems from arrogance. So the devil obviously was arrogant. He thought he was automatically better than Adam just because he was made out of fire. And he thought, and his arrogance led him to think that God is a fool for ordering him to pray, that God is wrong, that God is mistaken. So that's why he objected. And of course, that's why he blasphemed. That's why the devil blasphemed. So ever since then, when the devil was informed that he will be damned, that he is damned, that he will never be forgiven, that he will die as a kafir, as a non-Muslim, because the devil, before he blasphemed, he was Muslim. So when he was informed that he will die as a non-Muslim, that he will not be forgiven, and he's going to go to hell forever, at that point, the devil made a promise to God. He said, I promise that, after knowing that he won't die until the end of the world, he said, I promise that I will take as many of the children of Adam to hell with me as possible. So that that's his mission, is to try and take the human being to hell with him. Because he wants the human being to be humiliated, degraded, both physically and spiritually, which is why you see the people, the majority of the people that are basically following the devil, by following the whispers of the devil, by following their own inclinations, is they do things that are humiliating and degrading. Like all of the core concepts of hedonism and pleasure seeking, most of it is rooted in that humiliation and degradation. But anyway, the point is that the shaitan, the devil, he wants to disturb the person, especially the Muslim. So when the Muslim is trying to do what's right, when the Muslim is trying to do purification, when the Muslim is trying to pray, so the devil wants the Muslim to be disturbed, so that he abandons that. So the Shaykh is going to warn against that and give some examples of that and how to defeat it. The author said this lesson was given by the Muhaddith, the scholar of Islamic law, Shaykh Abdullah, the son of Muhammad al-Abdari. May Allah have mercy upon him. And it explains about the reward of the ablution that is in compliance with the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with a sincere intention for the sake of Allah. And it warns against going along with the whispers in purification and the opening statement, Allahu Akbar. That's another thing that some people, they have whispers about. When they're entering into the prayer, when the Muslim is entering into the prayer, and he enters into the prayer by saying, Allahu Akbar. So the devil, and he whispers to some people that, for example, you didn't say it right. You made a mistake. You messed up. You didn't pronounce the name of Allah. You added a letter. You missed a letter. So the person, they'll start saying it over and over. And I've witnessed that personally. In the mosque, I've witnessed that. A person like that. They'll say, Allah, 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 Allah. They'll say that like 7 times. The Imam would be ready to go to ruku', and the guy's still saying it. Allah, Allah, Allah. And he'll give himself a break sometimes. He'll wait like 5 seconds, then he'll start again. Allah, 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 Allah. Subhanallah, may Allah protect us. That is, and it has many reasons. One of them is ignorance. The second of it is a mental defect. So it could be mental illness and then a combination of being affected by the whispers, but there is a relationship. And there is a relationship between the person's mind and him being sick, mentally ill, and the ability of the shaitan to affect them. There is a relationship. This lesson was heard from him by Shaykh Samir, the son of Sami al-Qadi, and Shaykh Nabil, the son of Muhammad al-Sharif. May God bless them, protect them, and have mercy upon them, and benefit us from their blessings. Pious, righteous Muslims and scholars. And those students of Shaykh Abdullah. Shaykh Abdullah, may Allah have vast mercy upon him, said, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the Lord of the worlds. To him belong the endowments and proper commendations. May Allah raise the rank of our Master Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and his Muslim relatives and protect his nation from that which the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam fears for it. Thereafter, indeed, Allah granted his Muslim slaves the endowment of their good deeds, being a cause for the removal of their sins. And when we say slaves, and we mean that in the literal sense, meaning that we are property of Allah. We are owned by Allah. So every Muslim knows that about themselves. Every Muslim, they know that they are owned by Allah. And everything in this universe is owned by Allah. Hence, it is impossible to attribute injustice to God. Because since God is the owner of everything, then how could he be unjust? Because he does with his property whatever he wills. So if a baby is born like blind or with cancer or whatever, no one can object to God because why? Because it's his property. He owns it. No one can question God. No one can come and blame God. No one can point the finger at God. No one can come and object to God and say, why did you do this? He's the creator of the universe. Nobody questions him. Nobody can question him. However, the creator of the universe, he is endowed with eternal and everlasting mercy. And he does endow mercy upon his creations, and he's attributed with eternal and everlasting mercy. Indeed, Allah granted his Muslim slaves the endowment of their good deeds, being a cause for the removal of their sins. So a feature of being a Muslim, and is something that, and a benefit of being a Muslim, of having the correct creed, is that the Muslim, whenever he does a good deed, that good deed is a cause for some of his sins to be removed. For that Muslim, for some of his sins to be removed. Allah Ta'ala revealed in the chapter of Hud, إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ, which means indeed the good deeds do away with the bad deeds. God did not reveal that the bad deeds erase the good deeds. That is because the signs of God's mercy are more numerous than the signs of his torture. We have been made to narrate from the authentic, confirmed book of Al-Bukhari and Ibn Hibban. When Allah created the creation, he had a book written, and that book is elevated above the Arsh. Written in it is what means the signs of God's mercy the signs of the mercy of Allah are more numerous than the signs of His punishment. This means that the apparent signs of mercy are more numerous than the apparent signs of torture. As to God's attribute of Ar-Rahmah, mercy, and His attribute of Al-Ghadab, punishing, are not referred to as one being ahead of the other. Rather, both of them are eternal and everlasting attributes. However, when Ar-Rahmah is said, and what is referred to are the signs of mercy, and when Al-Ghadab is said, and what is referred to are the signs of punishment, then it is said that the signs of God's mercy are more numerous than the signs of His punishment. And because of the wording in the Arabic. So basically it's referring to the signs, yani the creation, the created things. And when we say, if someone were to literally say, yani taking from the Arabic, which is that's not the meaning. But if someone were to say God's mercy is more than His punishment, and it's referring to the signs of His mercy, the signs of His punishment. Among the signs of that is that the good deeds are multiplied for the believer. So this is among the signs of God's mercy, that the good deeds are multiplied for the believer. Meaning the Muslim, when he does a good deed, the minimum reward that he gets is 10 times that. That's the minimum. And the maximum is whatever God wills. So it can be multiplied, that good deed. The reward of that good deed can be multiplied by 10 or more. Every good deed that the slave does sincerely in his intention for the sake of God, without combining that intention with something else, that is, he does not seek the praise of the people by doing this good deed, and he does not seek to be looked at with reverence and honor, and it was in compliance with what the Prophet ﷺ came with, then this good deed is written for him, multiplied by 10 times. And it might be multiplied more than that. As for the sins, one bad deed is written as one sin. And so here we see the example. The signs of God's mercy are more numerous than the signs of His punishment. What's an example? For the one good deed that the Muslim does, it gets multiplied by at least 10, no less than 10. For every sin that the Muslim does, it only gets counted as 1. So that's a sign. Moreover, the good deeds are plenty. Saying tasbih, subhanallah. Saying subhanallah is a good deed. That is, saying subhanallah is a good deed. The takbir, that is, saying Allahu Akbar, is a good deed. And every act of obedience to God is a good deed. Even when the Muslim says to the Muslim, Assalamu alaikum, to greet each other, this is a good deed. The one who has a sincere intention in this, a good deed will be written for him from those multiplied by 10. And it might be multiplied by more than 10. So every time the Muslim says, Subhanallah, the minimum that he got is 10 good deeds. Now, just to bring it closer to your understanding, let's say, every time you sold something for $1, your commission on it is $10. Right? So if you sold something for $1, and how much are you going to make off of it? 10. And it could be more than that. But how often can the Muslim, can he say Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar? How easy it is. Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar. So you do that, let's say 100 times. You say Subhanallah 100 times. So then what's the minimum reward for that? 100 times 10 is 1,000. And like that. So, and it could be more than that, more than 10. But that's 10 is the minimum. So when a Muslim says Assalamu alaikum to another Muslim with a sincere intention, the minimum reward that he gets for that is 10. Among the merits that God granted by multiplying the good deeds is that Allah made the one good deed be a cause for many bad deeds to be erased. Some good deeds are a cause for the person doing them to be raised in status 10 levels, and for him to have 10 bad deeds erased. All of that, O slaves of Allah, it's a condition. In all of that, it's a condition to comply with what the Messenger of Allah came with from his revealed honored laws. So how do you get this great reward? Easy. Number one, be Muslim. Number two, have sincerity when doing the deed. Number three, do the deed correctly. And doing the deed in compliance with the way that the Prophet ﷺ taught. However, if outwardly they look like good deeds, but they did not comply with what the Prophet ﷺ came with, then for sure that person does not get that reward. So if a person does the deed, like it looks like he's doing it, right? But because he's ignorant, because he didn't learn the obligatory knowledge, he's making a mistake, and he's doing something that is not in line with the process that was revealed by the Creator. He is doing something other than what the Prophet ﷺ taught. And so he doesn't get that merit. He doesn't get reward, and also the deed would not be valid. This is why the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man tawadda'a kama umir wa salla kama umir, غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه انتهى." رواه النسائي في سننه. So An-Nasa'i, he narrated in his Sunan, which is a compilation that he made of hadith that he narrates. So he narrated this hadith. It means whoever makes wudu, ablution, as he was ordered to, and prays as he was ordered to, his small sins will be erased. So the Prophet ﷺ, he's encouraging us to follow the law. He's encouraging us to follow the law. Which law? The revealed law. The law that was revealed by God. So this encouragement, it comes where? It comes by this great promise of reward. What does it mean? It means that Muslim, he will, and if he follows it, he does it, what's going to happen? He's going to have his small sins erased. So think of it, and another way to bring it closer to the mind. Let's say you had debt. You owed somebody debt. Or someone might say you owed the IRS debt. May Allah protect us from such a thing. And if you, for example, if you did like ABC 1, 2, 3, you went and you did something, let's say online, or you filled something out, or you click these buttons, then that debt would be erased. Who wouldn't do it? Everybody would do it. So that they don't have to pay the IRS, everybody would do it. So the one who follows this hadith, he's going to have his small sins erased. All of them. This means that no matter how many small sins the person had, even if they were thousands or millions, whoever does that, all those small sins would be erased. Allahu Akbar. What a great endowment. Wa alaikum salam. A condition for one to receive reward for his wudu is having sincerity, and that his ablution that the Muslim makes, and that this ablution that the Muslim makes is in compliance with the ablution of the Prophet ﷺ, which is explained in the books of knowledge. Among the causes that lead to achieving this reward is for the person not to waste the water. Those who waste the water when they are making ablution, that is, they waste the water they use to wash their organs, they do not get this reward that is promised in the hadith. So an example of this, of being in compliance with what the Prophet ﷺ said, is, for example, not using a lot of water. Why is that? Because the one who uses an excessive amount of water and on the organ that he's washing, then he is not in compliance with the way that the Prophet ﷺ taught us to make wudu, and so he wouldn't be included in the incentive or the reward that is mentioned in this hadith. The hadith that says whoever makes wudu as he was ordered to do and he prays as he was ordered to do, all his small sins will be erased. So we were not ordered to use excessive amount of water when washing the organ. So the author said, those who waste the water when they are making ablution, that is, they waste the water they use to wash their organs, they do not get this reward that is promised in the hadith. Likewise, if he washes the organ more than 3 times, he does not get that reward. Instead, he would be missing out on all the reward of the ablution or most of it. So how would the small sins be erased from him? Rather, the small sins are erased by the ablution that is in compliance with what the Prophet ﷺ came with. Therefore, the one who wants his ablution to have this grand merit, then let him perform ablution according to the scholars of fiqh, according to how the scholars of fiqh described in their books, yani the scholars of the Islamic law. And because the scholars, they are the ones who they passed on the information that the Prophet ﷺ transmitted. So if you ever hear a person nowadays say, I only follow the Quran and the Sunnah, I only go on the internet and I read Sahih al-Bukhari in English and I have the international reference number and that's all I do, then that person is misguided. And if he's not a kafir, then for sure he's an enormous sinner. For sure he's misguided, for sure. Because what is he doing? He's interpreting Islam on his own. This person that doesn't even speak Arabic isn't even looking at the Quran in Arabic or the Hadith in Arabic. He's going on, I don't know what the name of the website is, but whatever website it is that supposedly they have Sahih al-Bukhari, he's going there, he's reading it, he's checking on his own. But he has no idea if the Hadith is abrogated or if the narration is confirmed, if the chain is confirmed. He's just reading it, interpreting on his own. That person, who is his imam? His imam is his devil and his nafs. So for sure he's misguided. And 9 times out of 10 he's a kafir, 9 times out of 10. Because he would think stuff that is contradictory to Islam. He would believe stuff that is contradictory to Islam. And if he's not a kafir, then for sure he's an enormous sinner, for sure. Because he would be saying judgments that are wrong, left and right. He would be saying about something halal when it's not halal. He would be saying about something haram when it's not haram. Just because he read on the internet. This is horrible. So we have to follow the scholars. We have to follow the imams. And the ones who are knowledgeable, the ones who are trustworthy. Obviously Islam doesn't call you to blindly follow some spiritual scammer, right? Somebody who is a self-proclaimed Maulana or self-proclaimed Imam or self-proclaimed scholar. No. Obviously in Islam you're taught to be a critical thinker, you're taught to use your mind, you're taught to follow the evidence. So you don't follow a spiritual scammer, but at the same time you don't abandon the legacy of the righteous, pious scholars of Islam that they brought the religion to us. They say, I only follow Quran and Hadith. Oh well, how'd you get that Quran? How'd that Quran get to you? How'd that Hadith reach you? Did Bukhari himself type up the Hadith in the search engine for you? One of them might have the audacity to say yes, na'udhu billah. Some random person that was probably outsourced typed up all that stuff. Are they trustworthy? Do you know them? Who are they? Some rando, some anonymous person that you don't know. You don't know what they look like, you don't know their name, you don't know their first name, you don't know anything. So that's what you're going to go by? That's misguidance. Whoever does that is misguided and it stems from arrogance. Subhanallah. So the one who wants his wudu to have this grand merit, then let him perform wudu according to how the scholars of fiqh, Islamic law, described in their books in terms of the integrals and the conditions, and leaving out that which does away with the reward or lessens it, like the speech that has no goodness in it while making wudu. So if you're chit-chatting while making wudu, you lost the reward that is mentioned in this hadith. You don't get that reward. So if you're chit-chatting while making wudu, and if your speech has no goodness in it, and you're talking while you're making wudu, that you don't get that reward that is mentioned in the hadith. Among the conditions to achieve that reward is for the water that the Muslim is using to make ablution to be permissible for him to use. However, if it was not like that, then he receives no reward for it at all. Who can think of an example of water that is haram for the Muslim to use to make wudu? Who can give me an example? No guessing. Just examples from knowledge. Yes, sir. We said water.
Oh, water. Something with najis in it.
Well, so I'll rephrase the question. Who can give an example of pure and purifying water? Pure and purifying water, so that doesn't have any filth. It's absolute water that is not permissible for the Muslim to use to make wudu. And if you, in the chat, if you understood the question and you know the answer, you can answer. Okay, we got one. A person who stole water and used it to make wudu. So that's an example. Another example, using someone else's water without his or her permission. That's another example. So if I have water, like a water bottle, so this is my water, and you want to use it to make wudu, and I say, no, this is mine, you can't use it, right? Which is his right, he can do that. If the person takes it by force and he uses it without that person's permission, then it's haram for him to use that water. So in this case, the wudu, and now this is a bonus question for those out there. So we said that it's forbidden for him to use that water. But what is the judgment of his wudu? Is his wudu valid or is it not valid? No guessing. Answers from knowledge only. We have one valid, another one valid. Who agrees with valid? It's valid. And meaning, he is actually on wudu, but he committed a sin. As for the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, and praise as he was ordered, it means that it is a condition in order to achieve this merit for the prayer also to be as God ordered. That is, for the prayer to satisfy the conditions and the integrals and to be void of the disliked matters. So whoever wants to receive the reward that is mentioned in the hadith, which is what? For all his small sins to be forgiven, he has to make wudu as he was ordered, and he has to do the prayer as he was ordered. So we talked about the wudu as he was ordered, now talking about the prayer as he was ordered. So if it was like that, then the person performing the prayer would get this merit that is based on the ablution that is in compliance with the rules revealed by God, along with the prayer that is in compliance with the rules revealed by God. So basically, technically, whoever wants to be a perfect Muslim, it is fairly simple. And that would be by just following what the Prophet ﷺ came with. That requires knowledge. After the knowledge, it requires discipline to follow that. And breaking the nafs, and breaking the self. But some people, their egos, their nafs is in their way and is against them and is their enemy. And so instead of doing things the way that the Prophet ﷺ taught us and the way that God ordered, they do things their own way. And so they're astray. Using a small amount of water is encouraged. The Prophet ﷺ encouraged it. He used to make ablution with an amount of water that fits into 2 average-sized hands cupped together. 1 mudd. So the technical term for that is a mudd. So basically, let's say if my hands were average size and you poured water into them when they're cupped together like this, then that amount of water that fits inside of my hands like that is called a mudd. The Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu with the amount of water that is a mudd, that fits into a pair of average sized hands cupped together. And when I say the Prophet ﷺ made the wudu with that amount of water only, he made the integrals and the recommendation. The full wudu. Not just with the minimum, with the recommended. That amount was enough for his ablution, all of it. However, he used to at times, add to that amount up to 6 times of it. That is up to 6 mudds. Therefore, using the amount of water that fits into 2 average sized hands cupped together, 1 mudd, for ablution, and what is more than that, up until 6 mudd, is in compliance with the deed of the Prophet ﷺ. So if the person wants to do like the most perfect, what do? Fill up your 2 hands cupped together like this with water, and then pour it into a container. If you want, grab that amount, pour it into a container. Then use that container and take the water off from it bit by bit, and so that you can make your wudu in compliance with that minimum amount. That's the most perfect. However, if you are not able, let's say, to do that, you can add up till 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 6 cupped hands together. 6 pairs of hands cupped together. Up until there, that is still within what is considered compliance with what the Prophet ﷺ did. So if you use 1 mudd or 6, you still get that reward that's mentioned in the hadith. Someone asked in the chat, is that amount equivalent to 1 cup of water? I have no idea. I never measured it. The author said, as to what exceeds that, then what exceeds the 6 mudds, then it is checked. If this extra amount is excessive, then the person is not rewarded by Allah for that ablution because excessive use of water occurred. If the extra amount was not excessive, then it does not reach the level of being disliked, and so the one who does that would not be deprived from the reward completely. He'll lose the merit of the hadith, but he'll still get some reward. But if he had used the amount that was narrated from the Prophet ﷺ, that is the fill of 2 average sized hands cupped together, it would have been better. If he adds to that amount up to 2 mudds, or up to 3 mudds, or up to 4 mudds, or up to 5 mudds, or up to 6 mudds, then that would be permissible and okay. The one who makes wudu like that would not be deprived of reward. However, the scholars of fiqh, Islamic law, mention that it is recommended for the water used in ablution to be 1 mudd because of what was narrated from the Prophet ﷺ in the confirmed hadith that he used to make ablution with 1 fill of 2 average sized hands cupped together. It is narrated by Anas, the son of Malik, that the Prophet ﷺ made ablution with 1 mudd, and he narrated also that the Prophet ﷺ made ablution with a makkuk. And the makkuk, according to one of the definitions, is 6 mudds. So the makkuk is the name of a measure, and it was said that it is 6 mudds. There is a wisdom in that from the Prophet ﷺ, because he made ablution once with 6 fills of 2 average sized hands, of 2 average sized cupped hands, because the person sometimes might be in a hurry, in a rush, and sometimes he might take his time. And during the time he is rushing a lot, the person among us would not make his ablution in a complete way with 1 fill of 2 average sized cupped hands. Also, because the people who work in skilled trades and crafts need to use more water for ablution than others. Like someone who is a mechanic, for example. Their hands get dirty with the grease or the oil, etc. So they would need more water, let's say, when they're making wudu. And the Prophet ﷺ was sent by God as a teacher for the people in his actions and sayings. So the Prophet ﷺ, he modeled, he enacted, and he did, or he performed things for people, the actions for people so that they could see how it's done. So the Prophet ﷺ, he himself taught through demonstrating. So this hadith is a hadith of action, yani the one narrated by Anas. Anas, the son of Malik, may Allah raise his rank, said that the Prophet ﷺ used to make ablution with 4 mudds, and he used to perform the purificatory bath, ghusl, with 5 makkuks. Allahu Akbar. So for the ghusl also, we have a metric, we have a standard by which we can be in compliance with the action of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So basically, Anas, he narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to make wudu with a mud and make ghusl with 4 mudds. There's a mistake in this book, in this version here. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th line from the bottom, if you have the book. The 3rd word. So just remove it's not 4 mudds, it's 1 mudd. The Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu with 1 mudd. And he used to make the ghusl with 4 mudds. So just fix that. It's not 5 makkuks. So Anas, the son of Malik, may Allah raise his rank, said that the Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu with 1 mudd, and he used to perform the purificatory bath with 4 mudds. That's what it should be changed to. And it seems like there's some text missing too. It says, furthermore, he also narrated the second narration that the Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu with 1 makkuk, and he would make ghusl with 5. Okay, so we see what happened here. Looks like a line was erased from the text, and it was spliced together with another line that came after it. So basically, Anas, the son of Malik, he narrated 2 narrations. One time he said, the Prophet ﷺ made wudu with 1 mudd and ghusl with 4 mudds. In a second narration, he narrated that the Prophet ﷺ made wudu with 1 makkuk. And what is the makkuk? How many mudds is it? Who can tell us from what we mentioned? We said, according to one definition, 1 makkuk is 6 mudds. So, in the second narration of our master Anas, he said, the Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu with 1 makkuk, that is 6 mudds, and he used to make ghusl with 5 makkuks. So how many mudds is 5 makkuks? If 1 makkuk is 6 mudds, 30. Alhamdulillah, we have very sharp mathematicians here today with us. Alhamdulillah. And both of these hadith are confirmed authentic from the Prophet ﷺ. And so when a hadith is confirmed from the Prophet ﷺ, it cannot be ignored or dismissed, because the hadith are narrated for implementation. This hadith is a hadith of action because it is not mentioned in it that the Prophet ﷺ said anything. And when Anas said, the Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu with this much or that much, it doesn't contain any words from the Prophet ﷺ. It's just Anas describing what the Prophet ﷺ used to do. Rather, Anas, who used to witness the Prophet ﷺ make ablution and plenty other actions of the Prophet ﷺ, narrated that from the Prophet ﷺ, may Allah raise the rank of Anas. Anas ibn Malik, a great companion who he served the Prophet ﷺ, and so he witnessed a lot of things personally about the Prophet ﷺ. A great companion, and he has a great merit. Among what deprives one from the mentioned reward in this confirmed authentic hadith, which means whoever makes wudu as he was ordered to and prays as he was ordered to, his small sins will be erased, is following the whispers that lead the person to using excessive water. Many people use excessive water because of the whispers. It was mentioned to me about a man who was traveling to Turkey, and he stopped at a hotel, and he used to make ablution and use excessive water to the extent that at times all the water in the hotel was almost going to be emptied because of his excessive usage. Allahu Akbar. And so, of course, if you've been to other countries, you know that they have limited water supplies. So you see, like on top of buildings, on top of like residential buildings, they have like this huge tank of water. So either they get the water from a well and it gets pumped up into that tank, or when the well dries up, what do? They call the water company, the water tank company, and then this like big truck comes in with like a huge tank of water, basically fills up the tank. I don't know if they have it in all the other countries, but the countries that I've been in, they have it. I've not seen it in America, but I'm talking about outside of America. So this man in a hotel, Allahu Akbar, he used so much water making wudu that he almost used all the water in the hotel. He almost emptied the whole tank. Subhanallah. That's what we said about the mental disorder, the obsessive compulsive disorder, or that it's the whispers of the shaitan, and the person keeps on listening and listening and listening and listening and following and following and doing it and thinking that they missed the spot and thinking that the water didn't touch and thinking that the water didn't wash. So there is that relationship between the whispers of the devil and the mental illness. He said, may God protect us from these whispers. This person was deprived of the reward and fell into a sin, because the owner of the hotel does not accept for all the water of the hotel to be used up. So basically this man, he used up all that water and he wasn't allowed to. He fell into an enormous sin and he was deprived of the reward. Some Shafi'i scholars mention about those who were inflicted with whispers that a person entered into the Nile River in order to do the purificatory bath, ghusl. He stayed until the sunset in the Nile, and he said, today it was not valid for me. Allahu Akbar. So like I said, it's definitely a relationship between the mental illness and the whispers of the devil. There is like some correlation there, there is some connection there. Because how are you going to go and dip yourself into the Nile River, which is one of like the biggest and most famous rivers on earth, and you're going to still think that your ghusl is not valid? Subhanallah. That's definitely a mental deficiency. And definitely a mental deficiency exacerbated by the whispers of the shaitan. He said his purificatory bath was not valid today, even though he was in the Nile. Subhanallah, may Allah protect us, ameen. The whispers in the prayer are more severe. There are people who do not suffice with saying the opening statement, Allahu Akbar, one time. Rather, they say it several times, or more than 10 times, either because they doubt about the validity of their pronunciation, or because they doubt whether they had the intention during saying the opening statement, Allahu Akbar. This person should have mercy on himself. Either he rejects this whisper completely, or he takes according to the school of Imam Malik. In the school of Imam Malik, Abu Hanifa and Ahmad, the son of Hanbal, it is not a condition for the person to have the intention of performing the prayer that he is praying while saying the opening statement, Allahu Akbar. So in the Shafi'i school, when we're going to pray, we say that it's an integral of the prayer to have the intention to pray. And when is it that the intention that you're supposed to have it, according to a Shafi'i, You're supposed to do it when you start saying Allahu Akbar and before you finish. So while you're saying Allahu Akbar to enter into the prayer, you have the intention. I now intend to pray the obligatory Dhuhr prayer, for example, for the sake of Allah. Now, it doesn't have to be visually verbalized in the heart. The person doesn't have to look in his heart, picture those words. No. It's just a thought. It's just an action of the heart that occurs right away, like lightning, as fast as lightning. So there should not be any trouble with having the intention during that time. From the time that you start saying Allahu Akbar until the time that you finish saying it. So while you say, for example, Allahu Akbar, in between that time, the person has the intention in his heart, present in his heart. Some people, because they think that they have to imagine saying a statement in their heart, they think that they have to imagine the words, then they might, for example, say Allahu Akbar more than once. Or they might stay saying Allahu Akbar for a long time. So you might hear them say Allahu Akbar. Because for them it's difficult to multitask, saying it with their tongue and having the intention in their heart. So, because they're trying to imagine the words. You don't have to do that. Why are you standing there saying Allahu Akbar? Why are you doing that? The reason why is the intention. So, and it's just as fast as lightning. The thought is as fast as lightning. Allahu Akbar, that was it, the intention. You had the intention. Allahu Akbar, you don't need more than that to have the intention. But some people, because they have the whispers, they do that. And so like we said earlier, also the person, he might think that he's mispronouncing. The shaitan comes to him and tells him, you didn't say it right. First of all, you really think the devil's trying to help you? That's wild. That's wild. The devil ain't trying to help nobody. He ain't trying to help you. He's trying to make sure that your prayer is invalid. He's trying to make sure that you become disturbed whenever you want to pray. He's trying to discourage you from praying. He's trying to take the sweetness of worshiping Allah. He's trying to take it out. So don't listen to the devil. He's not a friend. He's an open enemy. He's not trying to benefit you. He's not trying to help you make your prayer valid. That's ridiculous. The Shaykh said, this person should have mercy on himself. Either he rejects this whisper completely or he takes according to the school of Imam Malik. In the school of Imam Malik, Abu Hanifa and Ahmad, the son of Hanbal, it is not a condition for the person to have the intention of performing the prayer that he is praying while saying the opening statement, Allahu Akbar. Rather, if he intends before the takbir by a short time, his takbir is valid and his intention is valid. Let him take according to the school of Imam Malik, so that he relieves himself from this exhaustion, which carries no goodness, until he wears out the strength of his body and wastes his time, and he might distract whoever is near him. When someone near him senses his situation, he might be annoyed with him, and some of his focus might be affected. That person who is near him might lose some of his focus. Also, some people have whispers when saying the letters of the Fatiha. Those also, if they would have mercy on themselves by taking according to the school of Imam Malik, it would be better for them. In the school of Imam Malik, if the follower does not recite the Fatiha, there is no harm on him. It is not an obligation upon the follower to recite the Fatiha. So first thing is, that according to Imam Malik, if you're following the Imam, all you have to do is say Allahu Akbar to enter into the prayer, and then just follow the actions of the Imam. And then when you get to the end, and the Imam says Assalamu alaikum, you say Assalamu alaikum. That's it. You don't have to recite Al-Fatiha. You don't have to recite the Tashahhud while you're sitting down. You don't have to say As-Salatu ala Nabi. You don't have to say As-Salatu al-Ibrahimiyya. You just say Allahu Akbar to enter, and then at the end of the prayer you say Assalamu alaikum to exit. That's it. And you follow the Imam in the movements. That's according to Imam Malik. Or, if he's praying alone, He recites his tongue, he recites by moving his tongue only without hearing himself. He moves his tongue without reciting loud enough that he hears himself reciting the letter. He moves his tongue in the exits of the letters and suffices with that, without hearing himself say any letter, not the sin, not the sad, and not other than that. He would relieve himself and considers that a valid recitation according to Imam Malik. May Allah raise his rank. To God we belong and He will judge us in the end. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So this judgment by Imam Malik, it should be a real changer for some people. It should be a real game changer for some people who are having trouble reciting Al-Fatiha. So they should, instead of reciting the sounds, they would mouth the words. Right? So, according to Al-Imam Shafi'i, we have to say the letters of the Fatiha at least audibly. What does that mean? That means that if you were in a silent room, you could hear it. You could hear yourself. But it doesn't mean that you physically have to make the sound reach your ear. So if you were in a loud room, you won't have to raise your voice so that you can hear yourself. You just have to audibly recite. So for example, so you're making noise, you're making the sound. This is according to a Shafi'i, it has to be done minimum for every verbal integral. For Allahu Akbar, for the Fatiha, for the last tashahhud, for the last salatu ala nabi, and for the closing salam. According to Imam Malik, you don't have to make any sound. You just have to mouth the words. Mouth the words to Al-Fatiha. No sound. No sound whatsoever. You're not saying the letters with a sound. You're only mouthing the words. When someone, you want to say something to someone across the room, right? You're mouthing the words. That same way, you do it with Al-Fatiha. You just mouth the words without saying anything. And that would be valid according to Imam Malik. And it would be considered that the person recited Al-Fatiha. And so that would help cure the person from the whispers, so he won't say, did I say the sad right? He won't sit there saying, Ihdina as-sirata, Ihdina as-sirata, Ihdina as-sirata. He won't say it repeating it. So, Alhamdulillah, our Shaykh, he gave us these ways for the person to defeat the shaitan and not to indulge in the whispers. This is where I say the relationship between the mental illness and the whispers, because all you really have to do, right, to defeat the whispers is ignore them. Subhanallah. Imagine there was someone, right, that didn't mean anything to you, you didn't value them at all, they're a non-issue. No matter how often they told you, for example, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, it's not going to affect you because you don't care what they say. You just ignore them. Somebody sends you a text and you ignore them. Somebody tells you do this, do that, or no matter how much they nag you, you just ignore them. Same thing with the devil, same thing with the whispers, just ignore them. But some people, because they have that mental illness, they have that obsessive type of disorder, they listen to the whispers of the shaitan. We ask Allah to make us die as perfect Muslims. We ask Allah to make our final words, La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If there are no questions, we'll conclude. Whoever has a question, put it in the chat. One question here says, can one ask for the hadiths after a class? What does that mean? Like writing them?
No. So we just read them ourselves. Like how we get the references for the
The
hadith.
references, okay. So that's another thing also. I don't know how they organize these reference numbers. There's something called international reference number. I don't know how they organized it, but I can give you the source, basically the book that it came from, and the chapter that it's in, and the volume, I guess, and the page number. Yeah, but I don't have reference number. No. Any other questions? Any questions on there? No. طيب نهلل لا إله إلا الله